Welcome to your Own Your Imprint training. I am your change maker, Leigh Mitchell. I am a leadership brand strategist, and I'm here to take you on a journey of self-discovery, to own your imprint, to be courageous and excited to build a personal brand that feels authentically you. I am going to help you to uncover your leader DNA and brand your brilliance from the inside out. So are you ready? Are you ready to take this journey with me? Because I'm pumped and I'm excited to see what amazing future you have in store for yourself. Because remember, the universe has a bigger imagination than you do, and anything that you want is possible. It just is a matter of putting a framework together to achieve these amazing opportunities in a way that is not going to burn you out or set you back or make you feel less than. And so I'm excited to do this journey with you. And I look forward to reflecting with you and figuring this all out with you. Because remember, everything is figure outable, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling burnt out, I've been there and I can identify with a lot of what you're going through. But I also know what it feels like to get unstuck, and I know it is possible. So let's get unstuck together. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the Indigenous people of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet on a virtual platform, we acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous people and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. So I am a trauma-informed leadership brand strategist, and my promise to you is to help you show up unapologetically yourself and to own it with all of the power and excitement that it deserves. So I help established women leaders own their visibility with clarity, confidence, so that they can build a brand that reflects who they actually are and is impossible to ignore. So if the materials that are presented today resonate with you and you would like to receive our workbooks, please feel free to leave us a Google review and send us an email so that we can send you the workbooks that we have on all of our training, specifically around the Own Your Imprint framework, as well as LinkedIn and Substack. I have a training that you can take advantage of on optimizing your LinkedIn profile and how to create a Substack thought leadership platform. So LinkedIn is an AI authority site, as is Substack. And if you want to show up on AI search results, you have to have blog content on LinkedIn or Substack in order to improve your findability in AI search results, because that's we know that's where people are showing up, is they're searching for things on AI platforms, and they're not going to our websites quite as much as they once did. So having something to say on these platforms is a way to increase your findability and to own your expertise. So if any of these concepts resonate with you, workbooks are available, and all you need to do is send me an email after you have posted a Google review letting us know what you thought of the training. So I'd like to start with a poem. And this one really it hits home because as a neurodiverse person, my brain is always going a mile a minute. I'm always thinking every possible scenario that could possibly happen. Um, and it causes me to have some real challenges with my mental health. And so I take solace in this particular poem. So take a listen. There is no dog that wakes up and dreads a Monday. No trees that brace themselves for the week ahead. There is no flower that is mentally preparing itself for every possible scenario. No river on earth is disappointed that the weekend is over. The air does not sigh at the thought of a storm. The birds do not stress over how they shall make it through, and yet our nervous system already feels what is coming. Not because Mondays are inherently bad, but because we live in a world where surviving chaos is rewarded and preserving peace is just for when you have time. It's a powerful one, and I'm curious how it shows up in your life. So do take some time to reflect on that, because if you're building a business, a new career, or a personal brand, we got to let go of things that we can't control. And we have to embrace what we can. And that overthinking, it's within us, but we have the ability to tune into our bodies and to not give in to those crazy, disparaging, overthinking thoughts. So why are we here? Well, it starts with my journey, which I took in conjunction with some therapy, some significant therapy that I've done over the last several years in order to recover from burnout, deal with my diagnosis of ADHD, which I received later in life while I was right in the storm of menopause and perimenopause specifically. And so, yeah, I changed my life. I changed my identity, and identity change is hard. It's the hard kind to do. I decided that I needed to live healthier. So given that I have mental health challenges, it made sense to stop having alcohol as part of my coping mechanisms, my numbing to difficult things that were happening in my life. And I turned to more healthier ways of coping, a more vibrant, full life that I knew I wasn't capable of continuing to achieve without making some significant changes to my mental health. And so that led me to a journey of self-discovery through therapy. It led me on a self-discovery of a new diagnosis of ADHD, and the fact that it wasn't all doom and gloom, and that there was some incredible opportunities that my neurodiversity could bring to both me and my personal brand and my ability to help others. And the result is I love coming to work now. I didn't so much like on the left here of this photo with Maddie just, pushing his head against the wall, hiding from the world. I'm now at the point where I'm excited to show up for my life and the people who are in it. And rebuilding my personal brand, that brave, messy middle, it wasn't easy, but I'm really excited that I took this journey, and it was a very good thing for me. So I want to talk to you about a change management model, and it's based off of the Lewin's model of change management. So after the unfreeze comes what I call the brave, messy middle. That's the phase 2 of the change model. This is where you have to let go of your old story, but the new one is not written. So it's very scary. You don't know where it's going to take you. And it may look fine on the outside. You probably told people you're doing great, but on the inside, you feel very uncertain. And the hardest part, the people around you still see the old you, even when you no longer do. They remember who you were. They were comfortable with that version of you. And you were quietly becoming someone different. If you're at that phase right now, I want you to know that that uncertainty is not a sign of something wrong. It is a sign that something real is happening. And that is a very good thing. So here's the full model. Your unfreeze is the wake-up call. You, like myself, might have been operating from fear. You were performing a brand that did not reflect your values. You cracked something open, change, that brave, messy middle. The old identity that was dissolving and the new one wasn't solid yet. And then the rewiring. This is where I have created my own version of the change model. That is what your imprint is. Rooting into your own values so deeply that the old version can't pull you back. I want you to notice that this original Lewin's theory of change, which is called freeze, the third stage, refreeze, I am choosing to call rewiring intentionally, because we are not refreezing into a fixed identity. There's no freezing. We are building new, vibrant neural pathways. We are rewiring, and this rebrand of you 2.0 is your rewire. And my 2.0 is wonderful. In this collage, you can see my life today is vibrant, and I could not have imagined what could be possible when I was in the middle of it. Entrepreneurship and teaching the people that I hold close to me and I genuinely love. I travel. I honor my younger self by doing things I loved before. I dance, I laugh, I ski again, I hug trees, I host nature-based leadership retreats, because nature is where I discovered real clarity happens. I've been featured in major publications and written for national organizations, but none of that is what I am proud of. What I am most proud of is the community that I have built together with those that wanted to make change with me. And what becomes possible when women stop performing and start leading from who they actually are. You set the stage for other women to be honest too. So we are going to shape your professional narrative. And how do we do this? We do this through personal branding. Personal branding leads to authority and trust. It positions you as a trusted thought leader through knowledge and lived experience. When you tailor down to really focusing on what you want to be known for. It's a competitive edge. Your unique voice and story become assets that competitors cannot duplicate. AI cannot duplicate this. It is the secret sauce, this competitive edge. And it expands your network. Authenticity draws like-minded people together and mentors in your corner. I love this quote. If you don't define yourself for yourself, you will be crunched into other people's fantasies for you and eaten alive. So yes, let's read that one more time. If you don't define yourself for yourself, you will be crunched into other people's fantasies for you and eaten alive. It's a pretty powerful quote, and one that I really want you to reflect on as we go on this journey together. So take a breath. I want you to take a breath here. Everything that we are about to build, every framework, every reflection, every question, every piece of brand language, it comes from this foundation, this unfreeze, this change, this rewiring. If you've been asking yourself why your brand does not feel like you, it is because you are trying to brand from the old version of yourself, the one you've already outgrown, like the lobster sheds its shell. We are going to change that today, and it starts within you, and you are ready to shed that shell. It's nature's way of helping us grow. And so this video, which I will include with the training, represents, it's a rabbi speaking about how a lobster sheds its shell so that it can grow, and it's uncomfortable. That transformation is difficult, and it happens many times throughout the lobster's life. But without growth and without discomfort, change doesn't happen. Big change can feel like eating a whole lobster, overwhelming at first glance. But the secret is to take it one bite, one step at a time. Small, consistent actions compound into transformation. So before we move into neuroscience, I want to plant this question in your mind. Where are you right now in the model? Are you in unfreeze, feeling that first crack of something shifting? Are you in the brave, messy middle, holding both the old and new version of yourself at the same time? Or are you in the rewiring, rooting into a version of yourself that feels true? Hold that wherever you land. We will come back to it. Big change can feel like that whole lobster, but if you do take it bite by bite, it becomes manageable. Discomfort isn't a bad thing. It's your growth signal. And transformation requires letting go. So what are you ready to let go of? Here's what science tells us about all of this. Neuroplasticity. Your brain can build new neural pathways at any age. The old pathway is well-worn and automatic: self-doubt, playing small, fear of visibility, the imposter voice. Softening your expertise so you don't take up too much space. The pathway exists because you walked into it 1,000 times. But here is what is true. Where your attention goes, energy flows. Every time you choose self-belief over self-doubt, every time you claim your expertise instead of softening it, every time you show up fully instead of partially, new pathways get stronger and the old ones start to grow over. Nature accelerates this rewiring, which is why we take our leadership outside whenever we can. Evidence on nature and decision making is compelling, and we'll talk about this more later. So we are moving now into self-leadership, which is the interior architecture of your brand. Everything visible on the outside, your content, your offers, your voice, your presence, your expression of what you are and who you are and what means most to you is done on the inside. You cannot build a brand that outlasts if you have not done the work first. I have gone through two paths myself. The one that's ungrown and scary, but is possible when you go down a new pathway, a healthier pathway. The more you walk on the new path, the more clear it becomes, and the old pathway becomes impossible to revisit comfortably. You've outgrown it. You have changed, and the world has to catch on just as you do. When we apply this framework to entrepreneurship or to building your personal brand, your leadership brand, something important shifts. You are not your brand. You are not your logo. You are not your color palette. You're just you. Intentionally guiding yourself forward every single day. And we can add that your setbacks and your defining moments are so important to lean in on. Because in leadership branding, the experience that broke you open is often the most magnetic part of your story. This is not background noise. This is brand material. This is your brand. It's your story. It's you. That is the interesting secret sauce. And I love the story behind this company that I'm going to show you next. Comeback Snacks is a brand behind a messy story. Emily O'Brien was on a mission in prison, a mission to change herself, a mission to make a difference. She just didn't know how. Coming to prison as a first-time offender was unnerving, and she was anxious. But she found in prison that people were eating popcorn. And it was a way to maintain a healthy balance when she was in prison. Was she looked at her story and she looked at what she was learning in prison, like making fancy popcorn flavors with the other prisoners. And so she started to develop her business while she was still in jail. Popcorn was like this simple blank canvas for women of all backgrounds to express them through different mixes of spices and flavors. A lot of people like popcorn, and it's cheap to buy and goes a long way. And it's one of those things that's much healthier than baked goods and junk food. And it was available in the canteen. And so these ingredients developed into a company, a brand, and the company gave offenders the opportunity and confidence to gain pro-social employment, keeping the community safer by helping ex-cons refrain and refrain from returning to their old ways. And so the comeback snack story became the mission. And I love this. Popcorn so good, it's criminal. So Emily's story is very powerful.
I told you I'm not good at acting. Super Bowl popcorn. My name's Emily O'Brien. I grew up in Hamilton, Ontario. I own a company called Comeback Snacks, and I'm a philanthropist and a former convict. When I moved to Toronto and I started my first company, which was a social media business, the party scene there was a lot more hard. Over time, my substance use got more and more out of control. I loved the feeling, I loved being social. I loved it. Our apartment looked like an obstacle course, like it was just out of control. We would have strangers in our apartment making crafts. So some nights I'd get drunk and find out the next day I'd be going to like Miami, I would go to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. Pretty soon I started to rack up credit card bills and things started to continue to go downhill. So one day I got a direct message on Instagram and they really wanted help building their social media presence. Really, really nice guy, really funny. He started buying me gifts that I never really asked for, like a TV. He bought me a watch that had no battery in it. He brought me over dessert wine, like disgusting. He also sold cars on the side. And he's like, baby, you know what? I really wanted to get you this car. I'll split the cost with you. You hook me 10 grand and I'll pay for the other half. I was like, okay, cool, sounds good. Pretty nice BMW. One day he comes over to my apartment. He's like, I gotta talk to you about something. I'm like, okay, it's kind of weird, but whatever. Comes over and he's like, I wanna take you on a trip. I know you've been going through a lot. And it's just something I want to do, but there's just one thing I have to do when I'm down there. I was like, what is that? I have to bring some drugs back. I was like, okay, absolutely not. He left embarrassed, and I'm like, okay, see you later. I go out with my friends that night. I get a text from him. I felt so stupid after I asked you that. Let's just go on this trip, me and you. There'll be no funny business, nothing at all. Let me know when you get home, and we'll book the tickets. My mind was in a good place. We had a lot of fun the first couple days. The sun was out and the water was warm. And he's like, okay, well, you're not going anywhere today. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, our friends are coming to pick us up. Did you really think this was just like all fun and games? And then we pull into somewhere that it looks like it's like a hotel, like a small hotel, like a bed and breakfast or something like that. Everything's normal except for the walls have bricks and bricks of cocaine layered up. And it was the most amount of cocaine I'd ever seen in my entire life. PD looks at me and he's like, I'm so sorry, but like, I need your help with this. And there's a woman there and she's very, very nice to me. And she takes my measurements and then she tells me, we're gonna go shopping. She tells me, pick out one dress and I'm gonna pick out two and we're gonna buy the dress that I pick. One is the dress that I'm going to be wearing, which is a long floral gown. It's got blue flowers with white kind of pattern. And then I look beside it and there are two pairs, one for him and one for me. And it's like a pair of spandex boxer shorts. And in the front of the boxer shorts, there's a kangaroo pouch for 1 kilo of cocaine. And in the back, there's another little kangaroo pouch for another kilo of cocaine. I put on the dress. I feel like I have a box of Kleenex stuffed under my dress. This was not fooling anyone. Then they dropped us off right at the airport. Going into an airport with 2 kilograms of cocaine strapped to your body and trying to hide it like nothing's wrong is not an easy job. I'm not gonna be able to look at a customs officer in the face and lie about this. And just as I'm, not making a run for it, but at least going to go take them off my body, he's like, nope, it's too late now. And at this point, I was like, I'm gonna do my best, but if we get busted, this is on you. We just have to go through one last corridor and you have to show them your customs card. And he looks at ours and he's like, you guys gotta go into secondary. They immediately separated us. They send him to the left and I'm to the right. And the officer starts asking me pretty normal questions. What I do for work, where I'm from. I do, social media. I'm from Hamilton. And then he's like, so Miss O'Brien, we just have to ask, do you have drugs on you right now? Looked at the floor for so long trying to decide what to say. And he had to ask me again. He's like, Miss O'Brien, do you have drugs on you? And I looked up at him straight in the eye and I said yes. And then I was picked up by the RCMP, processed again, and then taken to the local jail. So I was finally sentenced on January 16th, 2018. A couple months in, we were actually having a Super Bowl party, and I managed to get to know quite a few of the women, and I really saw a lot of strength in them and a desire to do better, a desire to see their families again. And I generally saw good, and I really wanted to figure out a way to share other people's stories, not just my own, but to share other people's stories, to help other people understand how we end up in these situations. So during the Super Bowl party, which was pop and chips and popcorn, someone put lemon, pepper, and dill on their popcorn. And I was like, holy crap, this is so good. After Super Bowl, I knew it was time to get to work. But it was gonna be a little bit different. I didn't have internet access, I didn't have a cell phone. I had some stamps, and I had a lot of friends and support, and I knew that we could build something that really, really mattered, but I had to work on the recipes. We didn't have access to a lot of things. So every night I would kind of tool around with different ingredients. One of the original prison recipes was called jailhouse cheese, and we would actually get macaroni cheese and take out the cheese powder from it and put it on. We also would put Splenda and cinnamon. That was a very popular one. In order to reach out to certain people in the community, I did homework for them so they could buy me stamps. I called people, I read tons of books. I made friends with some of the correctional officers and staff and talked to them about it and kind of got them on my side. So when it was time to leave prison, I knew I was ready. I had a business plan, I had the support in place. Most importantly, I had my drive and my confidence back. And I knew that no alcohol or drugs was gonna get in the way ever again. Since coming out of prison, we've come so far. We have a staff of 3 right now. And I also work with other businesses to incorporate better policies into their hiring practices, because we have to give others a second chance. What good is it for anyone if we put people in prison and don't give them jobs? It just doesn't make sense. People that break the law and get themselves in trouble are not bad people. They actually have a lot of talents, a lot of skills. They just use them in the wrong way. I also learned that forgiveness is important when it comes to building our circles and understanding why people do the things that we do. I'm really proud to say that I'm now lawfully rebellious. I use my creativity for good, and that we can all make a comeback, but we just have to try.
So that is Emily's story, and I hope that you took some courageous inspiration from her story. The next I want to share is Jen Harper. In January 2015, Jen Harper had a vivid dream of little Indigenous girls covered in colorful lip glosses. That dream is what led to the birth of Cheekbone Beauty, one of the first Canadian Indigenous owned and founded cosmetic companies. After reconnecting with her Indigenous roots and learning about the effects of residential schools from her grandmother, Jen set off on her mission to build Cheekbone Beauty and to create a space in the beauty industry where everyone, including Indigenous people, feel represented and seen. Headquartered in St. Catharines, Ontario, founder Jen strives to ensure only the best quality color cosmetics receive the Cheekbone name. I had the honor of interviewing Jen, and Jen was able to also share as part of her story that she also gave up alcohol because she knew that the dream and her ambitions, she needed to do it alcohol-free. And I really resonated with that. I was early on in my journey at that point. I was only maybe 6 months alcohol-free when I interviewed her. And I'm just, I'm really proud of that interview I did with her. I think that it really represented a courageous action on both of our parts. And Jen's story was really inspirational to me. Another story, Tim, who I taught with, Tim had his social media presence just explode when he started talking about his journey of going back to school as an adult student who, you know, was self-discovery of being a student and taking on a totally different field, which was social work. And he was able to build a brand that encompasses social work. And he helps now, as he's still in school, he is working part-time in the field, but he is also continuing with his original business, which is social media strategy, and helping now social workers with their personal brands. And so I just love his story, his videos, his humor, and the way he approaches building his personal brand is very inspirational. So that leads me to ask you a question. What is your leadership brand archetype? We have a brand leadership archetype quiz that you can take, and you can discover what it is that shapes you so that you can connect with your audience in a way that resonates. There are 6 archetypes that I have put together for you to consider your style. There is the visionary, the mentor, the disruptor, the change maker, the connector, the expert, and the storyteller. There's no wrong answer. There is just your answer. So you will answer 5 questions, tally your letters, and count your, so the way it works is you tally your letters, and the most letters that you have indicate what your archetype is. But you might find that you're a bit of a combination, meaning that you equally answered to being both a visionary and a mentor, or a disruptor and a storyteller. So there's no right or wrong way of discovering your leadership brand archetype. So you're going to honestly answer these questions. When are you most in your element as a leader? 2, the content that gets the most response from your audience is usually. 3, the visibility that energizes you most is. 4, when building your brand, what matters most to you is. 5, your natural leadership energy is best described as. And so for each of those questions, you're going to choose which archetype letter best describes you. So I guess this probably isn't a big surprise, but my archetype is that of the change maker and the disruptor. I have broken many types of taboo conversations, spoke about things that could have gotten me in hot water, but I do it in a way that is focused on giving back and making a difference and sharing my story so that others feel that they're not alone. And I break the taboo around topics that could be career disruptors. And I believe that it is important to live your life in the purpose, the mission that you're meant to build. So I really encourage you to use the workbook or use this presentation to discover your leadership archetype. Once you have taken the time and the self-discovery to unearth your leadership archetype, now you can think about ways in which it would feel good to show up, to project your visibility. So there are several types of ways that you can show up and different types of content formats. So for each, you have visibility ideas on the left and natural content formats on the right. So for the visionary, you might be leaning towards keynote speaking or podcast guest appearances or TED Talk style speaking opportunities. Your natural content forms might include video or newsletter or opinion op-eds. If you're a mentor, you light up when someone finally gets something, solves a problem, steps into their own power. So master classes or one-on-one coaching or community leadership might be the place for you to shine. And your natural content formats might include how-to guides and frameworks, or Q&A readers questions, or behind-the-scenes content. If you're a disruptor, you may like to consider speaking to the media or industry event speaking, or again, guest podcast appearances or blog manifestos. You might consider unpopular opinion posts or industry myth busting content. If you're a connector, you may want to host events, and your natural content formats might include curating resources and roundups or behind the scenes of community. If you're an expert, you might consider panel speaking or publishing content in the form of research or LinkedIn long form articles or YouTube explainer series. If you're a storyteller, you might consider a Substack newsletter or a personal narrative post with lessons. Own your archetype, own your imprint, and own your brand. Your archetype is not a box, it is a starting point. The most popular leaders blend 2 or 3 archetypes, but always lead from one. Now take what you've discovered and bring it together with the 4P positioning prism, which I'll discover next. Number 1, your promise. That is the value you commit to. Number 2, who do you want to be? Who is your person? Number 3, what is your unique point of view? What do you want to be known for? And number 4, what is the proof, the evidence to help you create this? So your brand is not a logo. It is not a color palette and is not a LinkedIn bio. It is your lived expression of your values, every decision, every conversation, every room you walk into. The Own Your Imprint philosophy rests on your 4 inner qualities: conviction, clarity about what you believe, even if it's unpopular; clarity, knowing exactly who you are, who you serve, and why it matters; courage, the willingness to be visible, specific, and unapologetically yourself; and community, leading in a way that creates belonging and shared momentum. These are not aspirational. These are what you already carry. We are just going to help you say them out loud. So, P1, your promise. Get your workbook out and discover a thorough through line of everything you do. It's not a tagline. It's not a mission statement. It's a lived commitment others can count on to have you deliver in every context, whether anyone is watching or not. Your promise. Your promise is intentional commitment you make to those you lead and serve and influence. It's not a marketing message. It is a lived standard others can count on you to deliver. It shapes your brand because every piece of content, every conversation, every offer you make should be traceable back to your core promise. And it creates trust because when people know what to expect from you, they trust you enough to follow, to hire, to collaborate with you, and to invest in you. So you can reflect on these questions. What value do you consistently show up to deliver? What do you promise to yourself as a leader, even when it is difficult or uncomfortable? And you can complete the sentence: people who work with me can count on me to, and then fill in the answer. P2 is your person. You can open your notebook to this section and fill out the promise that you want others to experience. Your person is who you actually are. This is where the deepest brand work happens, because the most magnetic leaders are not performing a version of themselves. They are being themselves. The person is not a persona you perform. It is a full, complex, specific human being you bring to leadership. When you lead as your full self, others feel safe to bring their full selves. Your person is built on 5 pillars: your character strengths, your abilities and talents, your interests and aspirations, your environmental strengths, and your psychological capital. Psychological capital in particular is powerful because it includes your resilience, your optimism, your hope, and your self-efficacy. These are not soft qualities. They are the most durable leadership assets that you own. In your workbook, you can reflect on these questions about your person. First, describe the moment that you first understood yourself as a leader. What did you discover about yourself? Second, what life experiences, including challenging ones, have shaped how you lead today? And third, what do you want people to feel when they leave a conversation with you? The third question is one of the most clarifying questions in all of the brand strategy. The answer will help you more about your leadership brand than any other positioning exercise. P3 is your point of view. Open your workbook to this section. Your point of view is your brand backbone. Without a clear point of view, you become unforgettable. You blend into every component of professional space, in your professional space. With a clear, courageous point of view, you become magnetic to exactly the people who need what you offer. A strong point of view is a specific, personal, and slightly provocative point of view. It is challenging assumptions without alienating people. It is specific because it is more about your perspective, more it resonates with exactly the right people. It is personal because it's your point of view and it comes from your lived experience, your values, your patterns, and it is courageous because it is a real point of view that takes a stance. It says, I believe this and I'm willing to be wrong or unpopular because it matters to me. In your workbook, reflect on 3 questions around your point of view. First, what do you believe in about leadership that most people in your field do not say out loud? Second, what is the single most important shift leaders need to make right now and why? And third, complete this sentence. The conventional wisdom in my field says, and then fill that in. I believe the better approach is, fill that in. The third question is, my conventional wisdom is, and I believe a better approach is. Your proof. Open your workbook to the section P4. Proof is not bragging. I want to say that clearly because many of the women I work with have been conditioned to minimize what they've built. Proof is simply giving people evidence to trust you and their time and their investment and their growth. Proof lives in 5 categories: credentials and education, awards and recognition, media and publications, and client and team results. For each category, there is an evidence column and an impact column. The evidence is the fact. The impact is the story. You need both. Facts without stories are forgettable. Stories without facts are unbelievable. In your workbook, reflect on these 3 questions for your proof. First, list 3 to 5 of your most significant professional achievements and the measurable impact each created. Second, what formal recognition, credentials, or media mentions validate your expertise? And third, what stories from clients, students, or colleagues illustrate your impact most clearly? If you find yourself writing less than you expected, that is work right there. You have proof that you are claiming. Start claiming it. Now we bring together all the 4 Ps. Your leadership brand statement is a single clear articulation of everything you stand for. P1, I commit to delivering, fill it in. P2, at my core, I am, fill it in. P3, I believe that I have demonstrated by this by, and when everything feels uncertain, when you are in the brave, messy middle and cannot remember who you are, come back to your 4 Ps and ask, am I living in alignment with this? Now you can write out your full imprint, leadership and brand statement. I am your person. I lead with a promise to your promise. I believe your point of view. I have proven this by your proof. Write it as if you are speaking it out loud to someone who has never heard of you. It should sound unmistakably like you, not polished, not corporate, not like a template, like the most grounded, honest, specific version of yourself. Use your notebook to get it right. Own your imprint. Your leadership is not fixed. It grows with every courageous step forward. Your promise, your person, your point of view, your proof. These are not things that are built once and posted on a website. These are a living expression of who you're becoming. The work you did today is the foundation, and what you do with it after today is the brand. If you would like to continue this work with a community of women who are doing the same thing, Women in Biz Network is only $29 a month. And it includes all of our recorded live lunch and learn sessions to build your brand and access to shared member calendar and a community of over 35,000 from across Canada. Visit Women in Business now or Own Your Imprint if you want to join. And I look forward to seeing how you show up with your imprint. I work also one-on-one with anyone who needs support in discovering their personal brand and their leadership style. So I encourage you to check out my website, ownyourimprint.com, and of course the Women in Biz Network, so that we can go on this journey together. This is the place for you to do your ongoing brand building work. So let's do it together. And I can't wait to discover where you go on this journey. So let's stay connected. And I look forward to seeing how your brand evolves. So reach out. Let me know how this training landed with you. And I look forward to supporting you along your journey of owning your imprint. Thank you.